or if you've never heard of us, what are ways we can help you in doing your job as best as possible. I'm just going to run you through quite briefly about what Atlassian does and what especially we do for our customers. Because I think the best story is not about Atlassian listing on the NASDAQ in December of last year. It's more about this. It's more about the customers that we serve. This is my proudest metric, that we have 54,000 companies using Atlassian tools. Now these are large organizations, greater than 10 users. We don't even count those. But we have so many organizations which use our tools to do their jobs better. These aren't just small companies, but they're also large enterprises as well. We consider an enterprise to be an organization over 1,000 users, and we have over 5,000 of these large enterprises. 7 out of the 10 largest banks in the world use Atlassian's products, as well as most of the Fortune 100 companies as well. So it's something that all organizations use. As we heard at the start, software is eating the world. Every company is a software company, and Atlassian has been on the forefront of that, hence those large user numbers, hence those large enterprise customer numbers. A little bit about our organization. We started in Australia from humble beginnings in 2002, but we've grown to a global organization such as Clearvision. We have technology centers in Australia, but also in Silicon Valley, as well as offices in Europe and other parts of the world. And we've just signed up a new Chief Technology Officer, a son of India, who's currently living in Silicon Valley. Sri Viswanath is our new CTO, former Chief Technology Officer of Groupon, and we're very excited to have him taking us to our new stage of our organization. So what do we do exactly? On a high level, we unleash the power of every team. As Jerry showed you, we have a fundamental background in software teams, but we've moved beyond that to do tools for other teams that have workflow, want to work in an agile methodology, whether that's a marketing team, a legal team, a HR team. But our history and our background is very much in technology. So with those user numbers, those large enterprise users, or that 54,000 regular user numbers, we've found that we've learned as much from our customers as we've given to them. One fundamental thing that we've changed in the way that we deliver our services and solutions to customers is that we understand that not all teams are alike. The main way that teams have to work, there are a few common threads that we've found, no matter if you're a HR team or a software development team, is that you must allow teams to work autonomously. You folks in the audience as CIOs must acutely know this particular pain point, that you have to give the potential of each team to reach the highest level of productivity, so you must give them a high level of autonomy. These teams crave autonomy, and they want to have tools that allow them to do this. So you folks as CTOs, CIOs, must allow the flexibility and the autonomous nature of these teams to be able to reach this true potential. But it isn't an easy thing to provide, because there's another requirement within team organizations, and that's alignment, and that's control. You can't just have teams running off and acting purely autonomously, achieving their peak potential, if they don't have any oversight from management, and if there's no control or understanding from the organizational perspective about what they are doing. For that, it requires visibility. You need to have a balance between autonomy and visibility, especially when you have stakeholders within your organization, such as release managers, product managers, senior managers, which have to be tied into the entire process. So on one side, you have the challenge of autonomy to allow your teams to reach their highest level of potential, not to have a high level of direction, but at the same time, you need to have a high level of visibility about what these high-performing teams are achieving and what goals they are achieving within the organizational framework. And that's what Atlassian does. Our reason why we've been able to launch on the NASDAQ is that our tools have allowed you folks in the audience and those 54,000 other companies to have both autonomy and visibility to the highest level. Now, at a high level, that sounds very nice. It sounds like a great goal to achieve, but how do we actually do that under the covers? So practically, how do we provide the autonomy to these teams? We do it through these key 3 methods. To build software in the digital world, we've got to support the way that teams work. We let them work in the way that they need to work to achieve their goals. You folks as CIOs must allow autonomy to your teams by allowing your teams to have tools that can be customized both on the integration level, but most importantly on the workflow level. Do not force a one-size-fits-all solution on your teams, otherwise you will lose that level of autonomy. There are a few ways that we allow this to happen. If you remember the stakeholders that I talked before, release managers, dev team leads, and product managers. These are key stakeholders which have to fit into this entire software development lifecycle. So by identifying these team leads, we allow traceability to come from the end developer, the end HR person, the end legal person, to be able to bubble up through customized workflows, through customized add-ons, to allow all those major stakeholders to have visibility and control, but allowing the line operations people to be able to achieve what they need to. This ties exactly into the entire software development lifecycle. I still believe that developing software is an intensely collaborative pursuit. It's like a manufacturing process. There are many dependencies, deadlines, and all through the collaboration cycle. Building software, it's a complex endeavor for any business. It's as important to many organizations such as Tesla, such as NASA, such as Cochlear, organizations I'll talk about in a minute, as their fundamental piece of hardware, as their rocket ship, as their car, as their bionic ear. The software that goes into all those particular end user deliverables is as important. So to follow this iterative life cycle, Atlassian has developed a suite of products which fits every single stage of that life cycle. Jerry asked you who had heard of Atlassian before, who uses our products. Many of you put your hands up for Jira, and that's definitely our most well-known product. It's the workflow engine and task management and tracking tool that allows organizations to manage just one slither of that entire life cycle that I've shown you. It's an incredibly important part of the life cycle, and that's why many of you have heard or either used the products. But it's not the entire story. We have a solution Confluence, which Jerry mentioned before, and that allows people in software teams to gather requirements, which is the heart of the entire software development process. We've been fortunate that that same process, that same idea of gathering requirements, works just as well as getting details to manage an event, to collaborate and build a document, that legal processes which are going to follow as well. From there, we have release management tools, continuous integration tools, but also at the end of the life cycle, it's as equally as important. Once you release a piece of software, you need to manage, monitor, track bugs, have feedback from the end users, which go back into the entire life cycle. And I'm sure, as you all know, it's an iterative process. The old days of having a 2-year cycle, as was mentioned at the start of the presentation, are well and truly gone. So with that, we also have a real-time messaging tool which fits into that entire solution. So from those products that you saw before, they each have their individual characteristic to help teams reach their greatest level of potential and at the same time give release managers, product managers, senior management that oversight and control. Each of these products has unique characteristics, and that's why they fit into a particular niche of the software development lifecycle. But they also have common threads: collaboration, workflow, task management. Those are things which are common themes which run through all our products within the Atlassian suite. And like I mentioned before, 54,000 users, many enterprise customers as well, and it's really all about these organizations. Many of you haven't heard of Atlassian before, and I'm actually okay with that, because when I see the outcomes that we've had from our software, literally rocket or rovers have been sent to Mars which have had software in them built by Atlassian tools. That's where both myself and the development teams I work with in Sydney get their greatest source of pride, by seeing this kind of case study. as well as this. A lot of the software developers are into toys and cars, and also into environmentalism as well. So to see an electric car which is providing a better, more sustainable environmental future is something we're intensely proud of as well. It's not about Atlassian. We don't want a sticker on the side of the car. They'd never allow it anyway. But at the same time, the software that goes into a modern motor vehicle is fundamental to the entire way that that vehicle runs as well. Jerry mentioned the marketplace that Atlassian provides. It's part of the extensibility of our products. A nice little story with Tesla. They obviously have customized workflows. They have customized add-ons into their environment. They also released it into our profoundly deaf people. To have a hearing world is something that Atlassian is all about, and all those concepts of making teams reach their highest level of potential to increase organizational outcomes, such as allowing a child to hear, is what we're all about. So with that, I want to thank you very much for your time, and I'm looking forward to meeting many of you and answering questions in the Q&A. Sure. How are the products connected, or the people, or the teams connected? Yeah, so team collaboration. So I think all our products allow collaboration. And when I showed that slide of the software development lifecycle, just talking about software development, it just makes things easy at the start. The first part of it is requirements gathering. So an engineer has to work with a product manager and has to work with end user analysis, maybe has to work with a marketing team. So they all have to collaborate to decide on requirements, have that thrashed out in a collaborative manner. And people use Confluence and have been using Confluence for many years. Confluence is essentially a wiki tool, which, as Jerry said, they don't use Microsoft Word anymore because that resides on my laptop. It can only be used by myself. Confluence is a way for people to design documents which everyone shares at the same time. And in a software development sense, that's a requirements document. It could be a legal team working together. That's just one of the many ways that we can do. I can mention more at the end, but I think that's the strongest example of collaboration and working together. With that, I'll take a seat.
Yeah, I would also like to invite Mr. Vaidyanathan Swaminathan. He is the Clearvision country manager for India and Middle East. And maybe, Jerry, you could do the India business announcement.
Yeah. Hello. Yes. Okay. So we are, as mentioned earlier on, we've established offices across the world. We're very proud to be here in India as well, and obviously to be able to have the best representation. We've gone and hired a person, Adya, who heads up India and local offices, and will be expanding our operations here in India. So, welcome to us. So,
how easy or difficult is to get people who are trained to use these products, or we have to 100% depend on Clearvision?
okay, so absolutely not. Actually, you've got already opportunities. If you look at the Atlassian website, one of the things they're very good at is to be able to provide training materials, get start training materials that enable your team to get running straight away. So it does not have to be a big investment. Some organizations do choose, for example, because if you take an Atlassian tool, maybe modify the workflow away from a standard look and feel, then you might prefer to get some training material which is more like your personal environment. So that's when you might use a partner like us. It doesn't have to be us, but that's when you might use another partner to start giving a bit more bespoke training. But generally, there is lots of the tool tips themselves, and then there is the Atlassian University, which is free of charge for you to be able to help train your own staff. This is not the day of the IBM world where you had to do a 3-day training course on a tool. These tools are now very much more self-tuition, and if backed up with free training material if you need to.
Okay, I would now like to take up a topic and get views from people here, and the gentleman here could collectively answer that as to how those issues can be handled. So the topic I would like to first take upon is what are the biggest challenges, or what are the top 2 or 3 challenges that you face in managing globally distributed software teams? I'm sure that most of you all work in that environment, and you would be working on set targets in terms of release dates, in terms of performance of the software and all of those things. So obviously there would be challenges. There would be challenges in managing these globally distributed teams. There would be challenges in coordinating their work together. So how would you all articulate? I mean, that is the key point. I want you all to articulate what are the challenges in managing a giant software development activity.
Come on, don't be shy.
Synchronization of all the people.
Okay, synchronization. Okay.
Yeah, so that if that gets resolved, everything else moves faster.
Okay. May I come to you, Gajapati? What's the key challenge?
The all locations being on the same page, like we said, but at the same time, how they can keep up the timelines.
Okay. What about you, Raja?
Yeah, basically rapidly changing requirements, and then how do we know that where exactly we are with reference to milestone?
Okay. Easily, you can type messages in, but having the tool to say that this page has changed, and you get notification, and then putting the correct processes in place. Again, this is where Jira comes in, such that if a page changes, maybe part of your process is to put a halt, go to reanalyze where you are, but having the mechanism to make sure with the continuation platform, and this comes to this gentleman's point, which is tools that are correctly integrated. But we said right at the very beginning, one of the challenges sometimes is when you go and get different tools from different vendors, they don't necessarily all have the same integration points. So Atlassian does provide a lot of the tools, and some of the other tools, open source like Jenkins, is where we have skill sets in bridging the gap, gluing the bits together so that you don't have to. So requirement side is about having live documents. And indeed Atlassian, there's some very good YouTube videos of how Atlassian